more back function.
Today at Gurston we've got a one-make class known as the GTD 40 class, predominantly started for the GTD 40 cars, but now encompassing other marques as well. With Andrew and Martin from that club. Andrew, tell me a little bit about the organisation, what it represents and what your aspirations are for the club.
Well, we used to be a traditional club putting out a quarterly magazine and specialising just in GTD 40s, but we found that as life has moved on, we've stopped doing a magazine, we've stopped having to raise the income for that magazine, and by becoming a web-based club, we can offer free membership. So we're now open across the world, not only catering for GTD 40s, but we've got Vipers, we're hoping to get Corvettes racing with us as well, and we are predominantly a racing club. So it's about sprinting, hill climbing, track days and circuit racing.
So it sounds like a club for big GT cars with big engines.
Oh, we do like big engines, yes, indeed we do, yes.
That's a good selection of cars here today, for sure.
We have got a good selection today. We've got a couple of members that haven't turned out, but we're finding now that through the web we're getting more people joining us who didn't know about us before, who want to come out and race with us, which is fantastic. It's exactly what we wanted.
Oh, great, yeah, so it's good to hear that success. Martin, you've got a GTD 40. Tell us a little about the spec of it and how you run it.
I bought the car in 2001 and it had been built as a fast road car, and then I had Wheeldon Engineering down in East Sussex. They basically completely rebuilt the car for racing. As you can see, I use the car for hill climbs and sprints. It runs with a 5-litre Ford V8. It's got Idlebrock Victor Junior heads, puts out around 430 brake horsepower, which is around the same level as the Golf cars we're racing with at Le Mans. It's got the ZF transaxle. It's not an ideal hill climb car, to be honest, because obviously it's quite a big car for a hill, but because it's got a lot of grunt, we can still put in some competitive times. And I've just got a Gurney Westlake engine being built for it at the moment in the States, which is due over in about a month's time, and that will increase the stakes substantially. That's got 513 foot-pound of torque and 550 horsepower.
Great, and you use that car as a road car as well?
I don't tend to use it as a day-to-day car, but I am going to drive down to the Le Mans Classic in a few weeks' time, and I've driven down to the Le Mans Classic a couple of times with it, and it's fine. You can absolutely drive it on the road. As you can imagine, it gets a fair amount of attention, and the club last year were invited onto the circuit to do some parade laps behind two of the three GT40s that came, first, second and third in 1966 before the actual race started, and that was a fantastic experience.
Fantastic, yes, because the whole GT40 thing, a superb following for GT40s from the 60s, and a car with real cult behind it.
Absolutely, and what always amazes us is that even today, you've got some of the young kids actually know what GT40s are, and they're always diving around the car and asking if they can sit in it. Yeah, no, it does attract a lot of attention.
Yeah, Ford certainly started something there in terms of promoting their name very successfully, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Over to you, Jerry.
Thanks, Tony. Let's take a look at the GTD 40s in action as Julian Bailey Watts leaves the line. In goes the clutch, and 5.7 litres of Ford V8 power hurl Bailey Watts into Gurston's unique downhill start chute and the fast hollow bend sweeper. This is a big car to drive on British hill climbs, which are rarely more than 12 feet wide, but the GTD safely through hollow and into the braking area for the carousel complex. Now the road swings right for the steep climb up to the tight right-hand exit. Out of carousel, it's hard on the power over Deers Leap and into the left-hander at Ashes. It's important to make a clean exit here to launch into the steep climb over Burke's Rise, and Bailey Watts' big V8 makes light work of this. The big car bellows through the finish beam and completes the 970 metre climb in just 38.39 seconds. Well, Bailey Watts' time is the quickest by a GTD in this class, but coming to the line now is the Dodge Viper of the determined Nadine Geary. She takes on the GTDs on a regular basis, and judging by her warm-up technique, she really means business. Away from the line, and the slightly built nurse from Bath, who incidentally does all the work on the car herself, hurls the Viper down the hill and into Hollow Bend. She keeps the power on through the long left-hander into carousel, and it's a good tidy run so far as she attacks a steep uphill section. The unspectacular runs are often the fastest, especially with 8 litres of supercharged V10 under your right foot, and Nadine looks on course to maintain the class lead she held after the first runs. This time it's even quicker, and a 37.42 takes the win. Tony Marsh is a true Hillclimb legend, with an unequalled record of no less than 6 British Hillclimb titles. He advised on the original design of Gurston Downhill Climb, which was cut out of John Hitching's Wiltshire farmland and first run by the BARC's South West Centre over 40 years ago. One of the greatest all-rounders in motorsport, Marsh has done it all, from auto tests and trials to Grand Prix racing alongside all-time greats such as Fangio and Moss. Even at the age of 76, he's still competing in his state-of-the-art Gould V6, living proof, if it were needed, that hill climbing keeps you young. Make no mistake, Tony can still give a good account of himself. Just watch that super smooth line through Hollow Bend. He no longer competes at British Championship level, but still enjoys regular outings here at Gurston, his local hill, and at Shelsley Walsh, where he's held outright records in Cooper Jap, BRM and his own Marsh Special cars. This is a perfect example of smooth, quick driving in the Gould V6, the chassis built in Newbury by champion Hillclimb car constructors David and Sean Gould. A former editor of Autosport magazine and a BBC Radio Grand Prix commentator, Simon Taylor really enjoys his club-level motorsport in this HWM, which was first raced by Sterling Moss. After finding its way to America, the car was fitted with a 5.8 litre Chevrolet V8 and dubbed the Stovebolt Special. Taylor drives the car to events on the road, so he gets plenty of practice at controlling its decidedly vintage handling. Blasting down the hill from the start, Taylor takes care to keep well away from the hollow bend curves which could well unsettle this relatively tall machine. Well over 400 pounds-feet of torque from the big V8 means that he has very little gear changing to do, although carousel still demands a bit of wristy work. He heads for Ashes, and now it's just the long haul over Burke's Rise to the finish, where the 400 horsepower small block Chevy really comes into its own. The founder of racing transmissions company X-Track, Mike Endine, now runs Nicholson McLaren Engines, who sponsor the British Hillclimb Championship and whose engines power several of the front-running cars. Today he's driving one of the most amazing saloon cars on the hills. This Cosworth-powered 700 horsepower turbocharged Puma Gould is only loosely based on the Ford Puma and runs in the Sports Libre class, with its X-Track 4-wheel drive and modern race car technology from top Hillclimb constructors Gould Engineering. Former McLaren F1 mechanic John Hornby engineers this spectacular car at events. Endine's own X-Track 4-wheel drive system punches the car off the line, and he has to back off the throttle for the dash through Hollow Bend. He's back on the power now and charging the lightweight carbon fibre body saloon into the carousel braking area. Hauling the car up the incline, he works away at the steering wheel to get the car around the hairpin, stabs the throttle over the top of Deer's Leap and dabs the brakes again for Ashes. Now 700 horsepower and 4-wheel drive takes over as he heads for the line. That's a quick time for a saloon-based Sports Libre car. But here's the fastest Sports Libre car ever to climb Gurston Down. And as you can hear, Nick Mann's Manic BT is just a little out of the ordinary. Well, if you think that sounds like a jet engine, you'd be absolutely right. But it's not the primary power source. What you can hear is a helicopter starter turbine that maintains the boost to the main power unit, a turbocharged 1700cc Cosworth BDT engine that drives through a 4-wheel drive transmission system. Man's entirely self-designed and constructed creation set the outright sports league record at Gurston less than a year ago. Let's turn the clock back to August 2007 and watch his record-breaking run. The Manic rockets off the line. The strengthened Ford Sierra four-wheel drive setup makes this the fastest accelerating hill climb car bar none. Installed in a tubular steel space frame chassis, this whole complex layout took man 10 years to design and build. It was his famous Rover V8 powered Morris Minor turbo car that set the hills alight almost 2 decades ago. In nowhere more than hill climbing is engineering ingenuity given more scope, and the Berkshire-based engineer takes full advantage of the opportunity. It's another new record. Now let's take a ride up Gurston Down alongside another class record breaker. No 2-litre Sports Libra car has yet broken the half-minute barrier at Gurston, and as he brings his OMS to the line with just 1600 cc's of Suzuki motorcycle power, Ed Hollier is determined to be the first man to do it. Away from the start line in second, it's up through the gears on the motorcycle box and into Hollow Bend flat out in 6th at over 100 miles an hour. Hollier keeps the power on deep into the carousel braking area, and now it's down the box as he dives into the hairpin, grabbing second gear on the exit for Deer's Leap and the approach to Ashes. Up and over Burke's Rise, it's now 3rd, 4th and 5th before crossing the line with a new record. The half-minute barrier is finally broken and Hollier punches the air as the time comes up on the digital display. This might almost be the district nurse's car, but it's not quite what it seems. A turbocharged Fiat twin-cam engine and traction control turned Martin Baker's fully road-legal Morris Minor into a real Q car. Despite the car's deceptive outward appearance, Baker has done an enormous amount of chassis and suspension development, and the Minor hugs the curb as it hurtles into Hollow. Into the carousel approach he uses all the road. The short wheelbase car snakes as Baker gets hard on the brakes, but the Minor's incredibly quick up through the complex. Now he plants the right foot for the blast over Deer's Leap. The car squirms under power out of Ashes, the turbo's wastegate working overtime as the little saloon charges over Burke's Rise towards the finish beam. Join us after the break for more hill climb action.